Have you ever felt love was like an emotional roller coaster, soaring with exhilaration one moment and plunging into fear the next? For those with a fearful avoidant attachment, that's not just a metaphor, it's the reality they face daily. In today's video, we'll dive deep into the conflicted mind of an avoidant, why they crave closeness yet recoil the instant they feel it, why each step forward is followed by an urgent step back. From childhood conditioning to power struggles masquerading as love, from the gift of understanding others to the struggle of revealing their true selves, we'll explore the 5 most pivotal twists on this roller coaster ride. You'll uncover why they oscillate inside and, more importantly, discover a path to healing that transforms fear into lasting connection. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, or identify as a fearful avoidant yourself, don't miss a moment. Every insight and analysis is backed by psychology and real-life experience, equipping you with the tools to respond correctly, not with confusion, but with deep empathy. This video won't just untangle relationship knots, it will awaken the inner strength you need to confidently navigate every challenging turn. Click subscribe now and ring the bell so you don't miss any part of this exploration. Stay with us until the very end, because that's where you'll find the breakthrough secret, the pivot from fear to trust, from chaos to peace. From our earliest days, we carry into our hearts the fragments of childhood memories, the very bricks that form our understanding of love and safety. For those with a fearful avoidant attachment style, this foundation is not built from a single, steady experience, but rather a collage of 2 opposing extremes. Some days, they felt the warmth of being held in loving arms, whispered reassurances from caring parents. Yet other days, they witnessed explosive arguments, faces contorted in anger, even the smell of alcohol, or the sound of family members in the grip of addiction. In one moment, a parent's embrace is the safest haven in the world. In the next, that very embrace turns cold and distant. Their young minds lack the capacity to distinguish between love and threat, leaving an indelible belief. Love can arrive unexpectedly, but it can vanish in the blink of an eye. As they grow older, whenever they dare to reach for connection, a gentle touch, a heartfelt confession, their subconscious drags back those early memories. Every time I open myself, I get hurt. The thought of vulnerability triggers an automatic retreat, not out of willful indecision, but because their brain was programmed in infancy, when agony and affection coexisted side by side. It's difficult to yearn for the reassurance of a safe embrace, and yet tremble when it materializes. They are torn between 2 primal desires, the need for connection and the fear of raw emotion. Confusion floods in. Do I truly want to be seen, or do I only want a half-hearted relationship to shield myself from pain? Each attempt to move forward is propelled back by panic, creating an endless cycle of longing and anxiety. These creases of memory never fade, but serve as persistent reminders. Love can be magic, but it can also be a nightmare. Without a reconciliatory exercise for these extremes, they remain like a taut spring, eager to open but terrified of shattering. This is the driving mechanism of the fearful avoidant. Every time a sense of safety flickers, the echo of the past sounds an alarm that cannot be silenced. To truly understand a fearful avoidant, we must first return to those initial days. Observe how parents demonstrated affection, note the moments where warmth was interrupted by violence, and watch how insecurities flared each time calm was broken. Only then can we begin laying new, healthy bricks to rebuild a foundation devoid of emotional whiplash. For once the base is solid, they can finally rest in the security of a relationship, no longer hesitating at love's threshold. Growing up in an environment where parental affection revolved around power and conflict teaches you to see love as an arena where 2 people vie for dominance. Those with a fearful avoidant attachment often lack a model of a safe, intimate relationship where neither partner has to win. Instead, they witness verbal sparring, subtle mind games, and even fear of losing control when emotions run high. This love becomes encoded in their subconscious. Love equals power, and only the one who holds power avoids getting hurt. Thus, whenever they enter a relationship, no matter how tenderly they subconsciously remind themselves, maintain the advantage. Don't let yourself be vulnerable. They slip into tactics mode. Who initiates contact first or expresses care first is at a disadvantage. A lengthy message might appear as an emotional power play. An unexpected touch could be interpreted as coercion. Gradually, Every intimate gesture is scrutinized through the lens of control, and their hearts lose sight of what genuine safety feels like. They remain perpetually on guard, ready to defend or attack, regardless of how secure the relationship might be. Express too much affection, and they recoil in pressure. Step back to give them space, and they suspect ulterior motives. Are they quietly withdrawing? In the power struggle dance, every move can serve as an offensive strike or a defense trap. This constant insecurity becomes their companion. They dare not let go or trust unconditional support because their memories taught them that weakness leads to abandonment or betrayal. So, even as they crave peace, they chase the sensation of holding power, a feeling that at least assures them they won't be hurt. However, power in love is not a pathway to happiness but a source of exhaustion. Exhaustion from always being vigilant, from always needing to be one step ahead, and from perpetually fearing a fall from grace. Deep down, they understand that true love is a cooperative partnership, not a contest. Yet genuine security, so rare to them, only emerges when someone dares to relinquish the reins, allowing both partners to share power. Today, when you balance engagement by gently inviting conversation while preserving your own space to avoid pressure, you illustrate a new paradigm. Love is not about winning, but about conquering fear together. When they first experience that they don't need to hold power, they relax, learn to trust, and willingly offer intimacy. That moment is the chance for them to relearn how to love not through power, but through safety. Fearful avoidants often possess a keen social radar, an intuitive sense for the emotional vibrations of others. They know exactly how to pose the right question or offer a deliberate nod, prompting people to unveil their deepest joys, fears, and aspirations. In relationships, they act as guides, gently leading partners into safe emotional territory, where openness feels natural. Yet when it comes to removing the armor for themselves, they falter precisely at those thresholds they so skillfully open for others. Since childhood, fearful avoidants have learned that revealing too much emotion invites risk. They might be labeled weak, face judgment, or, worst of all, be dismissed altogether. Thus, their hearts are tightly wrapped in layers of invisible armor. They can systematically strip this armor away for others, but cannot dare remove it themselves. Each time they sense a moment ripe for sharing, their subconscious trigger sounds, "Stop, better to remain silent." The result is half-spoken declarations, tears unfallen, and forced smiles that mask a desperate need for genuine connection. This disconnect breeds frustration they long to share but don't know how. They spend hours listening, offering profound advice, yet cannot harness the courage to step into vulnerability themselves. Seated across from someone over a coffee, they stare into the void, yearning to confess, "I'm so lonely," or "I feel lost." But lips remain sealed, silence prevailing. Their hearts ache from the disparity between guiding others into openness and remaining mute about their own deepest needs. In those moments, loneliness swells. They watch the world around them teem with emotional exchange, yet they stand apart, craving the very empathy they provide. They enter others' emotional spheres with ease, but flee when it's their turn. Each missed opportunity to share deepens their internal déjà vu. Why can't I be brave enough? Yet the answer lies entangled in the past, in childhood wounds never healed. Those wounds might include tears shed before judgmental parents or confessions met with silence. Such memories become unwritten lessons. Sharing does not foster connection but wounds. They remember leaving rooms with quivering lips, the sting of thanks that sounded more like rebuke. As a defense, they learn to heighten endurance for solitude, convincing themselves that strength lay in silence. Thus, when someone earnest attempts to coax them into vulnerability, they hesitate, caught between relief and fear. They wonder, am I safe enough? What fallout awaits if I expose my true self? While others feel warmth in being heard, they feel adrenaline surge, palms sweat, and churning stomachs. Then, instead of genuine expression, they resort to generalities, diversion, or polite deflection. This cycle sabotages even the most loving relationships. The other person feels shortchanged. Why can they care so deeply for me when no one cares for them? This mutual disappointment fosters an invisible chasm. The fearful avoidant suffers silently, unable to voice their pain, while the partner suffers from not understanding the depth of that pain. To break free, fearful avoidants need a new pattern, a truly safe space where they can be encouraged to share without judgment, where every fragment of vulnerability is treasured. They must practice incremental steps. First uttering a brief, "I feel uneasy," then journaling, and finally sharing with a trusted confidant. Each small success becomes a brick reinforcing self-worth. Gradually, as they learn to unlock themselves, they realize guiding others into vulnerability means little compared to the freedom of being understood themselves. In every relationship, the fearful avoidant stands out for their remarkable empathy and acute sensitivity to others' emotions. They can listen to the faintest whisper, discern subtle shifts in mood, and instinctively provide comfort long before it's asked for. Yet this very skill becomes a double-edged sword. They forget their own needs and fall into an endless cycle of giving. Day after day, they sacrifice from lending a supportive ear at midnight to rearranging their schedule to help in a crisis. All they ask in return is a simple thank you or a warm glance, but these gestures are rare. Fearful avoidants dare not ask for a moment of empathy, believing they are undeserving. This belief that they are unworthy seeds a profound sense of lack. They live in a relationship that feels perpetually unbalanced, where they dispense affection endlessly while their own hearts wither from neglect. It is loneliness at its deepest, standing beside someone yet feeling utterly alone. They exist in a gap where the world around them thrives on mutual support, but they find themselves unable to receive the solace they effortlessly offer to others. The accompanying hurt intensifies with each act of giving unreciprocated. They notice every shift in demeanor, every unmet need, and interpret these as evidence they are being taken for granted. Any attempt to address this imbalance, no matter how gentle, often meets confusion or frustration from their partner, who perceives it as an unreasonable demand. Thus, they retreat further into silence and self-sacrifice, believing it better than seeking help. Over time, they become trapped in a feedback loop. They give even more in hopes of receiving acknowledgement, only to experience further emptiness. Like pouring from an empty cup, they continue to give until they are utterly drained. This relentless cycle imposes a heavy toll: sleep disturbances, muscle tension, and disrupted appetite as their bodies protest the unending demands upon their spirit. Breaking free starts with recognizing one's own worth. They must understand that giving only has meaning when it springs from a well-nourished heart, not a parched one. Imagine a cup pouring water. It can only pour if it is first filled. Fearful avoidants need to refill themselves through self-care, adequate rest, nourishing meals, and time spent with those who value them. Only then can they offer genuine support without depletion. Next, they must practice accepting support. When someone offers kindness, they should resist the urge to deflect. Accept a compliment, a hug, or an attentive ear. Experiencing being cared for teaches the heart that it is safe to receive, a necessary lesson for balanced giving. Finally, they require the skill of expressing needs not as demands, but as honest communication. Rather than silently suffering, they might say, "I've had a long day and could use someone to talk to," or "I appreciate what you do for me. I'd love your support right now." These statements are not scares, but invitations to deeper connection, revealing a genuine soul in need. As fearful avoidants gradually accept their right to receive, relationships shift from one-sided to mutual exchange. No longer standing on lonely ground, they walk beside their partner, both secure and mutually supported. This is the foundation of a lasting bond where giving and receiving are balanced, and love thrives on reciprocity and respect. As a fearful avoidant begins to recognize their own tendency to give more than they receive and learns to accept support, they come to a final realization: personal boundaries. Yet these boundaries usually appear only at the breaking point when anger explodes. They finally assert, "Stop, I can't take this anymore." But such outbursts convey only fury, not their true need for space and respect. Each time they reach this peak of anger, they feel violated. Words choke in their throat, tears threaten, and they lash out. When the storm subsides, they are left hollow. Their partner remembers only the outburst, not the underlying plea for understanding. Their real request to be honored remains unheard. They feel powerless, left with a relationship frayed by unspoken needs. In other moments, tension prompts them to withdraw entirely. They vanish from the conversation, switch off their phone, and employ silence as a shield. But this silence isn't therapeutic, it's a cry for attention. Their partner interprets it as they're mad, missing the chance to engage in a calm dialogue about individual boundaries and emotional safety. They never learn to preemptively request, "I need 10 minutes alone," or "Can we pause and talk later when emotions are cooler?" After each cycle of anger and retreat, regret surfaces. They berate themselves, "If only I had spoken calmly rather than storming off." But regret fades as they lack a practical way to set gentle boundaries. The cycle anger-withdrawal-regret repeats, leaving them exhausted, discouraged, and more anxious than before. To break this pattern, fearful avoidance must master soft boundary setting. Instead of waiting for anger, they might calmly say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed and need 5 minutes to gather my thoughts." Or, "Can we discuss this once we've both had time to cool down?" Such phrases clearly state their needs without blame. This approach allows their partner to truly hear and respect their limits. Practicing gentle boundary setting involves 3 steps. 1. Identify the emotion. Pause, sense bodily cues, and name the feeling. "I feel frustrated that my concerns aren't heard." 2. Communicate the need. Express succinctly, "I need a brief break to calm my mind." 3. Observe the response. Notice the partner's reaction. If they listen, resume conversation. If they react poorly, gently restate your need. With consistent practice, they witness a transformation. Partners stop recalling only the outbursts and start tuning into the underlying request for space. The feeling of helplessness dissipates, giving way to mutual understanding and respect. They no longer wait for explosive tension but address their needs proactively, while their partner safeguards the conversation. Ultimately, well-timed boundaries do more than protect the fearful avoidant. They affirm that every individual merits personal space. When boundaries are established promptly, the relationship achieves balance. No more unchecked anger, no abrupt withdrawals, just 2 people communicating and supporting one another. This marks the end of the old cycle and the beginning of genuine healing and growth. Before expecting others to recognize your needs and boundaries, the most important step is understanding your own self-worth. Self-worth does not depend on compliments, external achievements, or other people's actions, but originates from self-acceptance, all your strengths and flaws alike. By affirming, "I deserve to be heard, I deserve respect," you lay the foundation for a healthy relationship where no one can diminish your voice. Understanding self-worth helps you distinguish between gratitude and dependency. You appreciate when someone cares, but you do not let that appreciation become your only source of joy. You don't rely on praise to feel validated, nor allow fear of lack to control your emotions. Instead, you build an internal sanctuary you can return to any time through self-affirming talks, mindfulness, meditation, or journaling your daily achievements. With a solid foundation of confidence, you no longer overreact to rejection or feel guilty for setting boundaries. You recognize that everyone has emotional limits, and sometimes it is not your unworthiness but their unreadiness. Trusting your self-worth allows you to patiently wait for understanding or choose to walk away toward a more suitable connection. Cultivating self-worth is not a one-day process but a series of small, daily actions. Ask yourself, what did I do today to nurture my soul? And answer with something concrete. Exercise, read a page of a book, express gratitude to a loved one, or simply rest when tired. By taking responsibility for your happiness, you release the burden of expectations on others, while igniting positive energy that naturally draws respect and genuine reciprocity. When you genuinely feel your internal value, you become a pillar in relationships, not a wall that separates, but support that allows both partners to find their voice. You no longer need to withdraw into silence or lash out in anger to assert rights. You simply stand firm in your value and listen to the other's needs. This is the transition from fear to trust, from loneliness to authentic connection, through 5 pivotal stages, from childhood memories that seeded fear to power struggles instead of safety, from coaxing others into vulnerability to an inability to share themselves, from giving more than receiving to boundaries, erected only at the brink of anger. We have traced the inner landscape of the fearful avoidant attachment style. Each phase not only reveals the deep-rooted causes of their inner turmoil, but also points to step-by-step paths toward healing. The key lies here. Without understanding and honoring your own worth, you will remain trapped in fear of loss and bound by outdated coping patterns. Recognizing feelings of lack, insecurity, or anger isn't to justify them, but to transform them into motivations for self-love, self-protection, and safe vulnerability. Remember, setting boundaries is not about building walls, but drawing lines that allow two hearts to respect personal space and foster genuine connection. Giving and receiving must be balanced. Only when you confidently step beyond your comfort zone can you truly welcome others in. That is the turning point from fear to trust, from hopeless giving to full sharing. If you identify as a fearful avoidant, give yourself a chance. Start with small steps. Identify your emotions, journal, express needs, and accept love appropriately. If you accompany a fearful avoidant, practice patience and sensitivity to their signals, and create a safe space for them to learn how to open up. Thank you for joining this journey. Share your experiences, ask questions if you need further guidance, and don't forget to click subscribe to continue uncovering tips for connection and healing. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Wishing you steadfast faith, peaceful living, and wholehearted love.